What up? This is Rama Screen. How's it going, everybody? And it's time for another new collab video, and it's a familiar face. One of my old friends, Tyler Calvert. How's it going, buddy?
Hey, how's it going, Rama? Glad to be back once again on your channel.
Tyler, you crack me up, man. I love always discussing movies with you. Last time we talked about shark movies. Holy crap!
Oh yeah, that was great. Talking about all the ridiculous shark movies.
I couldn't breathe. Holy crap! But we'll definitely revisit shark movies when the Meg 2 comes out. And as you
Yeah,
know,
woohoo. Whatever they end up calling the Meg 2, if it's like the Too Meg, Too Furious or some stupid, cheesy, ridiculous title.
no, the Meg with a vengeance, like Die Hard 2.
Or the Meg Returns.
Meg returns. All right, so right now we are anticipating the upcoming new movie Creed 2. We're gonna be discussing all of Rocky movies plus the first Creed movie. Now, I'm a huge fan of this franchise. I don't know about you, Brother Tyler, but I love Rocky movies. Now, of course, not all of them are perfect. Then we can
No.
discuss. But the thing what I love overall is what the underlining theme of all Rocky movies is motivation. Trying it's always about the underdog, or there's a time when Rocky or the characters in the Rocky movies would feel small or will feel insignificant, and people will be like belittling them, and then there'd be like a speech or something happens that motivation them, and like, holy crap, I'm inspired now, and then there's a training montage. There's a training
Lots of
montage.
lots of those. There's a lot of training montages.
Yes, my favorite part of those movies, the training montages. We'll definitely talk about that too. And so, so as a guy who's like, not a jock growing up, I feel like, Rocky is one of those heroes that I look up to. It's like, yes, I can be like Rocky. I can do that. What do you think overall? What's your thought? Did you like do you like the franchise? I'm sorry.
Oh yeah, I love it as a whole. I mean,
Mm.
obviously not every one of the films are perfect. There's definitely some flaws in certain films, or the cheese factors ramped up to 10 in some of them. But overall, like you said, they have a lot. I mean, they're really good underdog stories. Most of the films, well, at least a couple of them, not all of them, they all have a lot of heart in them. Like, some of them have like humble beginnings, and they're somewhat autobiographical because they are kind of based around Stallone and his highs and lows in his career, which is also fascinating that he crafts these stories kind of like around himself and his highs and lows in his career. So I think that's also kind of cool, the why this franchise has gone on for so long, as his career's kind of gone up and down over like 40 plus years.
I agree, brother. Let me put on my headphones. I forgot. I want to hear a lot better here. There you go. Whew, sorry about that interruption. Now I can hear you better.
That makes sense.
Instead of the laptop speaker, I can I gotta put my ear onto the laptop. Anyway, um, let's start with this our discussion about the Rocky franchise plus Creed. Let's start with Rocky One, 1976, I believe, and this is like I want to say, yeah, 4 years before Raging Bull, and Raging Bull is also another boxing movie that kind of redefined cinema, especially in the way it's cinematography. But Rocky One, it's interesting. I revisited again. By the way, YouTube, in celebration of Creed 2, they are showing all of Rocky movies for free. I don't know
Oh,
if you know
really?
that. Yeah. So starting this month. So it's insane. And what I noticed is that Rocky One is mostly romantic. It's about Rocky courting Adrian.
Hmm.
It's like this guy who's just like nobody really thinks much about, and he's like, I want to go to the distance. I can date this girl. I don't care what people think. He's like, come on, let me get that shot. Let me get that chance. But everybody was just shitting on him, messing with his self confidence. He's a nobody. It's the ultimate David versus Goliath underdog story, and to this day I still can't think of any other movie that can be compared to Rocky in that sense of underdog. What's your thought?
I mean, I definitely agree. It definitely, at times when I rewatched it, felt more like a romantic drama than
Yeah.
an action, crazy kind of movie that some of the later films end up becoming. Because I feel like of the entire franchise, this definitely is like the most humble out of the bunch. Because I mean, Sylvester Stallone wasn't a massive star when it came out, and he was just, like
Yeah.
humble beginnings. This was pretty much like his start. and he wanted to just craft this really cool story, and he didn't want anybody else to play the character, so he kind of just refused to let anybody else play the character. I mean, he didn't direct this one, but he wrote it. I mean, he ended up directing the majority of the other ones. But I really like the story with Talia Shire as
Oh yes.
Adrian.
Oh,
Looking back, how their
yeah.
relationship kind of started with her in the pet store and all that.
Thank you for bringing that up because I believe prior to the first Rocky film, and you can correct me if I'm wrong, okay? Like you said, he was a nobody, right? Sylvester Stallone was not a big star, and I read somewhere that he was also like bum poor. He even he even made a softcore at one point.
Yeah, well, anything for money back then.
And I read somewhere that I don't know, he didn't give names, but maybe he gave names, but a producer gambled on him, and he said like there's nobody would gamble on an artist in that way anymore these days. That was very rare that he would gamble on me. What do you think of that story?
I mean, that's definitely really cool to think about, that you could do, stuff like that back then, kind of just sell your possessions, do a softcore porn or two, and then you have enough money and you can make a classic film like such as Rocky. And, I think he sold his dog as well. I think that was one of the other parts of the story. Yeah, Rocky series or family pet. Rocky series, family pet. I'm going to go with Rocky.
And of course, the movie is also, real quick, is inspired by a boxer named Chuck Wepner, who is also who became whose life story also became a movie starring Liev Schreiber. Liev Schreiber? I don't know how to pronounce his last name. I'm sorry.
You're talking about Liev Schreiber?
There you go, Liev Schreiber. I apologize. It came out like, I want to say 2 years ago. It wasn't that good. I didn't like it.
I didn't know it existed. I just know who Liev Schreiber is.
Yeah, his brother Pablo Schreiber is also an actor, right?
Yeah.
He's in everywhere these days, including Skyscraper. He
boy.
betrayed Dwayne Johnson. Another thing also about Rocky is that I didn't realize it until I rewatched it, that it was kind of slow. If you come in, never seen Rocky movies before, and you want to see some boxing,
yeah, it's probably like the least exciting action movie, because there's a little bit of boxing in the beginning, and then there's a bunch of boxing at the end, obviously, which is a great climax. But I mean, the in between part, there's really no fighting or boxing or whatever.
I know, and Raging Bull came out in 1980, and man, the way the boxing sequences were filmed in that movie was just phenomenal. But not a lot of people regard Raging Bull in the same way that they regard Rocky. It's just like you regard it because of the underdog thing, not necessarily because the boxing sequences were amazingly filmed.
Yeah, I think one of the more recognizable things to do with Raging Bull was just Robert De Niro's transformation.
Yes.
For the film, other than I mean, Sylvester Stallone pretty much was always ripped. It seems like. So it's not like he really. I mean, of course he got in shape for all the movies, but he didn't go gain a bunch of weight and all that to play Rocky.
Now, before we move on to Rocky 2, let me ask you this fun question, Tyler. So if you were to write a script, that you're passionate about, your labor of love project, would you be insistent on I gotta be the star of this one? I can't have any other actor be the lead.
I guess it would depend if I had maybe 2 or 3 actors in mind, and then they turned me down. Because I'm sure there's been plenty of times where in Hollywood where there have been movies where they oh, I really wanted this person or this person, and they declined, or there was a scheduling conflict and all that, and they're all right, fine, I'll just do it myself then.
There you go. I like that. All right, so let's get to Rocky 2 before I share my personal story in between Rocky 3 and 4. Rocky 2. Now, as you know, everybody, this video contains spoilers. So at the end of Rocky 1, it was. Remind me again, Tyler. Was that a split decision at the end between?
Yeah, a lot of the fights in these are split decisions.
Yes. So Creed, coming into Rocky 2, Creed believes that it has to be like a knockout win. You know, it's like you gotta have a rematch. It can't be just split decision. That was his motivation, right?
Well, yeah, well, Apollo Creed got mad because he got a bunch of hate mail because
Ah,
they're he
that's
got
true.
this was like pre-internet when you actually had to like write people letters to tell them how much you hated them and how much you thought they sucked. Because like he's literally like reading letters on the balcony, people just like trolling him, writing like rude hate comments to him, like basically like the equivalent of like what YouTube comments are today, saying that like you fix the fight, you're a bum and you suck and all that stuff. And he got pissed because he's like no. No, how dare you say that? Rocky got lucky. If he fought me again, he'd lose.
You know what's funny about this? Because I love laughing at these movies with you, brother. You're so funny. Now, what I love about this, or what I find funny or hilarious, is that you would think that after Rocky gave Apollo a run for his money, because Rocky keeps coming back, right, every round, in the first Rocky. So he's got heart. You would think that after all that, you know, in Rocky 2, Mickey would be supportive. But no, Mickey was like shitting on Rocky.
Yeah, well, I think the main issue with with the Rocky series for me is just the sheer fact that like he doesn't block.
That's right.
Like I mean I don't really remember it getting addressed too much, but like he just doesn't like the block.
But for real though, Rocky wants a rematch, Creed wants a rematch, but Mickey, through the first half of that movie of Rocky 2, is like, no, you're gonna die.
Well, yeah, not only that, but then like he's having like all this stuff with Adrian where he's like, I'm retired, and I'm gonna do commercials even though I can't really read very well, and we're gonna get married and then have a kid, and then he spends all of his money on like that car and jewelry, and then it's like, well, I guess I gotta fight again. Fine, Apollo, I'll give you your rematch.
And it's so funny that in the first two Rocky movies, because he's pretty poor to middle class, I guess you could say. So we always make fun of Rocky and the fact that he punches frozen meat.
Yeah, that has like no benefit whatsoever.
I'm watching that. I'm thinking like, holy crap, salmonella. What if he catches any of that?
Well, between that and like drinking all the raw eggs, yeah. Like that's definitely one of the I've tried it before after watching Rocky as a younger kid. Like, okay, I'm gonna be big and strong. I'm gonna crack an egg in a glass and drink it like Rocky, and I'm like, oh my god, this is disgusting.
Did you feel anything different after you?
No, I didn't feel like the eye of the tiger or anything. If that's what you were asking.
Did you get sick though? No.
No, I mean I didn't get sick. I just was like, okay, well that was gross. I'm not doing that again.
Now, also, I believe, and my memory is a bit shot these days because I'm getting older. but the boxing in Rocky movies is like 15 rounds. I was like, why? I thought it was 12 rounds.
Well, at least most of the movies, anyways, barring like the third one and the fifth one because there is no rounds; it's in the street. But like they do like the montage of the rounds anyway.
Yeah. But it's like in the real life, I think it's 12 rounds, unless my memory's,
I think
right?
a lot of I mean, I think it can be up to 15 for like title matches, though. Is it maybe? I think it might be more because it's a title match, maybe.
I suppose, yeah, maybe, but it's one of those things where we'll discuss more in Rocky 3 and 4 because I want to bring it up about the accuracy of the technicalities of the boxing itself. So,
oh yeah, I mean, well, we're gonna get on accuracies. I got a couple for some of those movies as well. But also, did you notice that when you were rewatching these, because I noticed it as well,
yeah,
is that the whole problem with Rocky's eye kind of just disappeared after the second one because he had like a problem with his eye.
That's right.
He had like no depth perception on one side, and that's why he had to like shift all of his boxing to try and bait Apollo, and so he wouldn't get hit in the face as much because he's a southpaw.
So what happened there?
They just wrote it out, I guess. He doesn't really have an issue. They don't really bring up the whole eye problem really much, like ever again, as far as I know. I just noticed that he had like the whole depth perception. Because remember, because I think Mickey threw that thing at him and he didn't. Well, he didn't even try and block it. He tried to hit him and he blocked. He didn't even like know it was coming.
That's true. That's true. So that's a dilemma. That's for some reason the franchise is like, oh, we don't need this anymore. Another thing also I noticed, because by this time Sylvester Stallone has become a movie star, right? I mean, I wasn't around in the early '80s, but I'm assuming that's how it is. And now, and then by this time, he also had other movies like First Blood, or Cobra.
Yeah. He was getting to that out around like Rocky 3, and so yeah.
Exactly. So if you notice in the first two Rocky movies, even though he's heavyweight, his body's not like shapely defined. He's not like a bodybuilder. He's still like bulky. And when he's Rocky 3 and 4, after Rambo run, it's like, oh, now
he's like super macho man in those movies. He's like, I mean, like especially in like 3 and 4, he's like glistening. His muscles are like glistening as he's like walking into the ring.
Yeah, exactly. I was like, oh, that's where it transitions. I get it now. Even his haircut too. You can notice his haircut's getting better.
Yeah, and he stopped wearing the fedora and all that for the middle movies too. Once he got money.
Oh, right. So Rocky 3. Oh my God, this cracks me up.
I think the fourth one is the most ridiculous, but like 3 is really ridiculous as well.
And this is because Rocky 2, Sylvester Stallone directed it, and now he also directed Rocky 3, and he directed Rocky 4. Talk a bit about what is it that you like or maybe don't like about Rocky 3.
I mean, I love how ridiculous it is in the fact that it's like the height of like 80s cheese, where it's Rocky Balboa fights Hulk Hogan and Mr. T in the same movie. Because like when you think of like 80s, you think of like Mr. T and you think of Hulk Hogan and you think like Rocky, and the crazy music like Eye of the Tiger was from this film, because like there was no Eye of the Tiger in the first two. Everybody I think thinks that, but it actually came in the third one. So I mean, that classic Eye of the Tiger song, I mean, that was all cool. Obviously it was also kind of cool, even though it was kind of unexpected, that Apollo became like his mentor after Clubber Lang beat the crap out of him.
Yeah, and Mickey dies in this one, unfortunately.
Yeah, so like, then they've made Apollo the mentor, which was kind of interesting. And then there was like the weird montages of them running along the beach with their like super high cut shirts and jumping in the slow mo on the sand.
But here's the thing though, that super cut shirt, that was the in thing back then. Just like,
oh, I know.
Yeah, just like basketball players with like these thigh high.
Those shorts are really short back then. Yeah.
So right now we're like, what the hell? But there's a part, and thank you for talking about that point. The part where, because Rocky is feeling, he's not feeling confident in his training. And then Creed keeps saying, like, what the hell? What else matter with you? What's wrong with you? And then at one point, Rocky says, no, tomorrow. And Creed says, there is no tomorrow.
But I did love the reveal that Mickey actually was like trying to keep Rocky from ever fighting Clubber Lang. Yes. Like he was actually like, I've been handpicking all of your fights, because he's like I've had 10 title defenses. They were all handpicked. and Mickey was like in the ring, well, not in the ring, but he was in the stands watching Clubber Lang beat the crap out of people, just like follow him around the country. As Clubber Lang is like, I want Balboa, I'm gonna kill him.
and that running in the beach part, man, it's like as cheesy as like, they could have gone just like high five, and it's like as cheesy as that. I was like, why are you hugging?
Yeah,
in the middle of
it was like a bromance kind of thing. Like that's like the definition of like a bromance.
And the whole Hulk Hogan thing, man, it's like
Thunderlips. His name was Thunderlips.
It's not even the manliest wrestling name ever. Now, Clubber Lang, Mr. T, I pity the fool. This was before I looked it up. This was before the A-Team. So
yeah, this was one of his first roles.
Yeah, that's why if you notice on the opening credit, it says introducing Mr. T. So he wasn't even famous at the time. But don't you think that he's one dimensional? Like he's like a comic book villain. Like
Yeah, I mean he's just like a typical like '80s cheesy bad guy kind of type. But he has some really cool one-liners though that I love.
like what? Like what? Remember?
Well, of course everybody loves "I Pity the Fool" and all that. But my personal favorite always has been the lot where they're talking to him in the locker room, and it's like prediction for tonight's fight. Prediction, pain. As he looks into the camera, pain.
Which makes you wonder if that is from Stallone's script or is that Mr. T
Yeah, was that ad-libs and all?
That would be a great trivia to find out. Now, before we move on, the statue that was also revealed in Rocky 3 or unveiled. I mean, it does not look like Rocky, man. That face.
Oh well, they tried.
It looks so abstract. I guess the goal is to make it look like it's anybody. You know, it could be any.
Yeah,
man.
it could be you.
Which brings me to my personal story. I want to share this real quick, and I'm sure you've seen the photo on my Instagram recently. I actually went to Philadelphia a few years ago on some work stuff, and you know I had some downtime. I was like, oh my god, oh my god.
Let me go run them steps.
Exactly. I kid you not, bro. Before I flew to Philadelphia, I actually bought gray sweatshirt and pants.
Did you also play like "Gonna Fly Now" and all that as you're running up the steps and you start dancing when you're on top of the steps and throwing punches like he does in the movie?
In my head, yeah, and I was doing that. And so I got somebody there. It's like, can you take a photo of me? And they're cracking up. It's like, of course, you know, Rocky, by the Rocky statue, and on top of the steps, you know, I go like this.
Of course.
What I regret is that I didn't do video. I should have done video too. But
yeah, then you could have put the song to it.
I didn't want to take up his time. I was there by myself. If I had another colleague, I would have done the whole shebang. But the point of my story is that I finally saw the statue, and holy crap, man! You know, I wasn't the only one. A lot of people there was doing the thing too.
Of course, that's like a popular thing. Like I didn't personally do it. Like I've been to Philadelphia before, and like I've seen the stairs from afar, and I've seen the statue from afar, but I never had time to run up the stairs and do everything. But I mean, I'm definitely going to eventually go back and do it because I don't live that far away from Philadelphia, whereas you do.
Do it, bro. Do it. It was tough too because I had to like, oh crap, there's kids here. Let's go to that spot over there. There's no kids doing the Rocky thing. So
of course.
So all right, let's go to the most ridiculous. What I think is the most ridiculous.
Oh, I agree.
Rocky movie of them all, Rocky IV. And I think, in my opinion, again, let me know if you disagree, but I think it's an excuse. The movie is just an excuse in the height of the Cold War that we had with the Soviets. It's just one of those other movies like The Hunt for Red October and all the other movies during that season or during that decade, because we know our enemy was the Soviets, and that was before the wall came down as well. So it's like, oh, let's have Rocky, beat the Soviets.
He's gonna fight this giant Russian that's on steroids.
And Ivan Drago, they made him out to be some kind of laboratory-made superhero.
He's like a machine, basically. I mean, he doesn't really. I mean, he basically is a machine, and then he only says a couple lines in the movie that are very robotic.
And don't you agree that this is probably the most science fiction-y that Rocky has ever gotten?
Well, I mean, there's literally a robot in it. Like the Happy Birthday Polly robot and the crazy techno music as it's being revealed.
And those lab technicians, all of them are just working on the punch, measuring the punch of Ivan Drago.
Yeah, he punches way more PSI than like anyone should. It was like 2,000 PSI.
But that part where he punches and you see the graphic of the result of it. That don't you think that reminds you of that arcade game? I think Dave and Buster still has it. Where you punch.
Or just like the just the regular version of it, where it's just the bag and then you punch it as hard as you can and the number goes up.
Yes. Now, in this Rocky 4, ooh, who's that? Oh, there's a dog in the background.
I have a dog, unfortunately.
Okay, nice.
Yeah, while he's out, he's outside. It's in the window.
I love dogs. Now
I do too, but he's just too chatty.
The training montages in this one is in the snow, and that provides for an interesting montage, because I think there's one point where there's no dumbbell, there's no bench press. He's just like running up.
He literally runs up like a mountain.
Yes, and Ivan Drago's treadmill almost goes like 90 degrees. He was like running up.
Yeah, well, it was like they showed like they cut back and forth between their montages, and he's like being like studied on like a machine, and like they're cutting back and forth, and Rocky's like doing like chopping wood and running through the snow with like bobsleds, and he's running on treadmills and doing all this crazy stuff and taking steroids as different cheesy 80s songs were playing, like Hearts on Fire and all.
and Red Sonja showed up.
And Bridget Nielsen was his wife or girlfriend or whatever.
I'm sorry, finish your thought.
The other one was that other Survivor song. It was like in the Burning Heart, I think, was the other cheesy one that they played.
Yes, I guess your point, what you're trying to say is, if I may, I think the point you're trying to make is that Survivor songs after Eye of the Tiger just didn't make a big hit.
I did like that one, but it's no Eye of the Tiger. Definitely not. But I mean, that movie is great. And the Cheese Factor with the montages and the 80s, the themes and the slow-mo and just the ridiculousness of the whole movie. We haven't even touched upon, speaking of music, the Apollo Creed's entrance to the ring when he fights Ivan Drago. It's like the most ridiculous entrance for a fighter in the history of fighting.
Well, wasn't it James Brown, right?
Yeah, James Brown with a bunch of backup dancers, and Apollo like descends from the sky, and he's pointing his gloves and dancing as Drago's just standing in the ring, and it's like the longest introduction for a boxer like ever.
And you can tell too from Drago's face, he looks perplexed. He was like, "What is going on?"
Yeah, I come to America, and this is what happens.
Now, let's talk a bit about Creed's death. Because it's partly caused by the fact that Rocky does not want to throw in the towel.
Throw the damn towel. That's all I think of when I think of that fight.
And Drago's like, I must break him. I must break him.
Yeah, I must break you.
I think it's one of the cheesiest death scenes in any movie, man. He dies.
Well, because he punches him and then he slow-mo falls for ever.
Well, at the very least, it's not like one of those movie death scenes where the person will talk forever in your arms, before he dies.
Yeah, well, he cradled him in his arms. He was just already dead. And then he just looked up at Drago and he was pissed. And then it became the quintessential revenge movie from the 80s. You killed my best friend. Now I must get revenge. Although realistically, I don't know why you'd box somebody that literally just punched your friend to death in the ring, but. Especially when you don't block.
By the way, fun fact for the viewers out there: Dolph Lundgren is actually Swedish. He's not Russian.
Yeah,
and he actually has multiple degrees. That fellow is a smart guy.
He's gonna be an Aquaman.
That's right. He's gonna be there too. Okay, so let's bring up that topic that we said earlier we want to bring up. Okay, because the time when Rocky versus Ivan Drago, the boxing techniques that they use in this film is just so out of
or lack thereof.
So inaccurate, man. It's like they swing their arms like this, and then at one point that the Ivan Drago like throws Rocky across the across the ring.
He literally like throws him. He throws him into the corner, doesn't he?
Yes, yes. It's like I don't think boxing goes, running your arm around like that. Oh my god.
Why is nobody perplexed by the fact that like Rocky doesn't block most of the time? Exactly. Like so somebody be like, hey, like maybe you should block once or twice.
Which begs me to wonder. Like I probably need to look this up. I mean, didn't they have any boxing consultant, boxing technician?
I mean, they boxed for real, but I don't know if there was any type of specialist on hand that taught them techniques or anything. I just know that like they boxed for real for the most part in a lot of the movies. Like for the most part, like hit me as hard as you can, because I think Dolph Lundgren sent him to the hospital.
Oh snap!
Because I remember reading about that. Like Dolph Lundgren like actually like sent Stallone to the hospital during their fight because he really was Ivan Drago.
See, I think my theory is this. By the second movie or third, because Stallone written and directed these sequels. By this time, he'd be like he got proud, like he got what is it called, hubris. Kicks in. It's like, you know what? I got this. I don't need boxing technician. I can figure out the choreography.
Well, yeah, because 3 and 4 was like the height of like Stallone's popularity because he had Rambo and the Rocky movies, and he was at the peak of his career. That's why, like in Rocky 3, he was the champ, and not only was he the champ in number 3, but even he also like had a lot of money.
Yeah,
he was on top of the world. He started speaking more smart. Like he actually didn't sound like as much as Rocky as he did in the other films.
Yeah, he got arrogant. That's the word I'm looking for. Arrogant.
Well, yeah. Then he got the crap kicked out of him by Clubber Lang, and then he actually had to try.
But the idea that they couldn't just, hire a consultant to make sure that at least the boxing sequences look believable, it's just so silly to me. It's like
well, which is interesting about that though, because you mentioned that fact, but then as the movies went on, like he actually got like real boxers.
Oh, good.
It only took like 4 movies, but oh well.
Any final thoughts about Rocky IV before we move on?
I mean, it's like a time capsule of probably like one of the movies like I would like describe as like the perfect like time capsule of the 80s. Like it has everything 80s you could imagine in that movie. It's got like robots. It's got cheesy montages. It's got revenge plots and the Cold War drama and action entertainment because it's a Rocky boxing movie, and the cheesy one-liners as well. Like, I must break you, and you will lose. Like those are like the only like 2 main lines he says in like the whole movie.
Oh my goodness! I remember also everybody was like so hot about Bridget Nielsen, so that was at the height of her popularity as well.
Well, she got together with Sylvester Stallone too.
That's right. They were a couple. He was obsessed with her, but that's another story. Now, let's go to Rocky V. Now, here's what's interesting. Because you mentioned earlier it's a street fight, but before we get to that, I want to talk a bit about the character Paulie, because the evolution of Paulie. In the first Rocky, he's this Adrian's brother who's like always angry, and it's like, what are you doing? You owe me. I keep taking care of you and stuff like that. And then as Rocky franchise progresses, Paulie becomes more in the favor of Rocky, more on his side, more becomes his ringside person as well.
Yeah, well, it gives him a job because he lost his job. It was like he got all drunk and angry at Rocky, and then he asked for a job, and then he likes him again.
But in Rocky V, he's the cause of the bankruptcy. So I was like,
yeah, they had to bring him back to his roots somehow after Rocky IV. They like, okay, well, he loses all his money and because he loses all of his investments and all that stuff. So now he's poor again.
Yeah, so Paulie's the black sheep, the person that they throw under the bus for the cause of why Rocky lost all that money. It's so funny how this evolution of Burt Young's character, Paulie. But I remember that he got nominated for the first movie, along with Burgess Meredith. So he's always been good at playing this angry guy.
Yeah.
Now, okay, so he's Rocky's bankrupt now, so it's all back to zero, training again. And this he takes under his wing this protege named Tommy Gunn. And what are your thoughts about Tommy Gunn?
He has a mullet.
That guy's massive.
I could just like end it there. But I mean, Tommy Gunn wasn't really the issue with Rocky V. It was really just everything else. Like the tone felt so different to the other Rocky movies. Because it was like trying to capture that magic that the first one and even a little bit of the second one had with the whole humble beginnings and all that. But we just went through Rocky 3 and Rocky 4's ridiculously.
Yeah.
And then we go back to humble beginnings with Rocky 5, and he's not boxing. Like he's not like the champ or anything, or he's not like he's not really like too down on his luck in that regard, because he's not really like fighting. He's retired, but he's gonna take on Tommy Gunn as his protege and teach him everything while he's like neglecting his son.
well, here's the thing too. I know I made it on my note that Rocky V, Rocky's relationship with Tommy Gunn, is what could happen with Rocky's relationship with Adonis Creed if Adonis Creed eventually gets corrupted by fame and ambition. So because there's that parallel as well. Because that's how Rocky sees Tommy Gunn, like Rocky sees Adonis. Like, I love you. You're my protege.
Yeah. As they went through that cool like 90s rap montage of like training, it was like the early 90s hip hop rap and montage of him fighting and training and all that.
I think overall too, what's terrible about Rocky V, and I think Sylvester Stallone said that I made Rocky V just from the money. I was
greedy. Yeah, he's not a big fan of Rocky V.
Exactly, and what's funny is that it's directed by the same guy who directed the first Rocky, John G. Avildsen. And so you would think that would be a decent movie, but no, it's crap. I think that's why I love. We're gonna get to that. That's why I love Rocky Balboa, is because I think Rocky Balboa manages to capture the father and son drama the way that Rocky V could not, or failed to do. What do you think?
I definitely agree with that, just because I mean I think a lot of that aspect in Rocky Balboa is much better. And even if it is like kind of absurd that he's still fighting even though he's like 60 years old in the movie. Well, Sylvester Stallone himself was 60 years old when they filmed that movie, but he's 60 years old fighting still. I mean, he still fought in Rocky V, but it wasn't like in a ring or anything. Well, as he said, my ring's outside.
Yeah, and then the whole thing too, trying to push the narrative of the son is jealous because you spend more time with Tommy Gunn. I'm just not buying it, man. I'm not seeing
he trains and then he beats up his bullies, and then his bullies like friends become his friends. I guess it's like I beat your friends. Now I beat your friend. Now you're my friends.
In such a split second, they turn to become like, oh, we're friends now. I was like, what the hell?
Yeah, it was a weird one.
The character that cracks us up as well, I'm sure you agreed, the Don King character.
Oh, the wannabe Don King that was like obviously modeled after Don King.
He's just so over the top, man. He's so over the top.
Touch me and I'll sue.
But do you think that the fact that they have a street fight instead of a in-ring boxing fight in Rocky V, does that kind of diminish the spirit of Rocky franchise? Because he's always been about a boxer. He's not Jean-Claude Van Damme.
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely a departure from what we're used to. I mean, the fight itself was okay, I guess, for what it was, but it doesn't have the same kind of power or anything like that as any of the other fights in the movies, because it's like, okay, you beat Tommy Gunn in a street fight, like, okay, he's still the champ. You're still poor. Like, it doesn't change anything. Like, nothing changes. You're still poor. He's still the heavyweight champion. and you can still get sued even though you don't have any money.
And the choreography of that street fight too. I mean, there's some moves there that are just wrestling moves. I was like, what
Yeah.
is going on?
Yeah, when did they learn wrestling? But I mean, the Tommy Morrison, the guy that played Tommy Gunn, was an actual boxer. That's what I was saying. They actually started getting
right.
boxers for these eventually, because he was an actual boxer.
That's right. Oh, by the way, before we get to Rocky Balboa, real quick, I forgot one note that I have here on my screen. I just want to bring up the funny fact. I think in Rocky 3, after Mickey dies and Apollo Creed takes on as the trainer, so they fly out to Los Angeles where Apollo Creed starts out, and man, the moment that they enter, all black gym. Oh,
Yeah, it was like that, interesting.
Paulie and everybody's like, "What? Come on!" And they feel like,
What was like it was when randomly Paulie decided he was like racist. Like he realized there's black people in Philadelphia.
yeah,
like,
exactly.
like it's not like Philadelphia doesn't have black people. Like how did he live all these years not being a racist? Now he's a racist. Now he's because he's in that gym. But like there's like I've been to Philadelphia. There's a lot of African American people there, which is fine. I have nothing against them. That's why I don't think it's an issue. But it's like, why is he a racist now?
So, which goes to my point earlier about the evolution of Paulie. It's interesting. Sometimes there's a point where they're like, I think, I'm there. Sylvester Stallone. I think it's like running out of ideas. Like, what do I got to do with Paulie? Paulie has to have something in this movie.
Their boss at the meat factory was black. You didn't have a problem with him then.
So, this is a quick side note that I find so funny about Paulie. All right, so Rocky Balboa, the 6th Rocky movie. Now, I read somewhere that Sylvester Stallone wanted to write Rocky dead at the end of Rocky 5, like the end of the street fight. But the producer's like, no, Rocky is such an iconic character. He has to live. So now of course, he's still living. Talk a bit about Rocky Balboa. What do you think about it?
Well, everybody else is dead. Well, except Paulie because he dies in Creed. But
right.
but Talia Shire's dead at least. So I mean, he has that conundrum where he's kind of like lonely in his restaurant and kind of down on his luck a little bit. Like he's content with life, but that's why it's kind of cool going back to these little chapters in his life because the peak highs and lows of Sylvester Stallone's career and how they kind of parallel with these Rocky films.
Yeah.
Because it's like because you go back to Rocky, he's obviously much older. Like I forget. I mean, I don't remember how old he's like technically in the series, like Rocky's actual age at that time.
Yeah.
But like in real life, Sylvester Stallone was like 60 when this movie was coming out. But he's he's retired. I mean, he's been retired. But then they see the simulations on the TV of him versus I forget the name of the character, but it was Antonio Tarver was the boxer that played him.
Well,
But like they had the simulations because he's like the champ now, and like would he be able to fight Rocky Balboa in his prime and win? And the simulation showed that he would, he'd lose, and he got pissed off. And
well, let's pause on that because the computer simulation also cracks me up. Like, because like, okay, let's find out who will win between Batman and Joker, or something like that. It's like,
yeah, it wasn't the greatest like effects and all that. It was like the mid 2000s special effects kind of.
Exactly. And also, this is to me my favorite Rocky movie of all Rocky movies, even probably more so than Rocky 1, because that father to son drama that he has with Milo Ventimiglia's character, man, because as I said earlier, Rocky movies always have motivational speeches, but the motivational speech in Rocky Balboa, dude, especially the stuff that the stuff in the basement. He said the stuff in the basement, and that speech that he gave to the boxing commission because they didn't want to give licensing to him in that courtroom. Holy crap!
and then after that he gets it, but you don't and you wonder like did he get it because like of that speech or did he like beat them up or they never like specify like how he changed their mind specifically. I'm assuming. Well, it leaves it up to the imagination a little bit. Obviously, it's not intentional, but it's like did he just beat him up like license me?
Southpaw. Now, that scene though that really you can tell it really it's Robert Balboa Jr.'s alive from the inside is the fact that his boss is like, because after yelling at him in that office is like. He comes up to him and Rocky and is like, "Hey, can you take a picture of me and Rocky?" He's
Well, it was going back to that scene you're talking about where the licensing and all that.
Yes,
like
yes.
it was so dumb. The whole fact that like, oh well, you fit all of our qualifications and all that. Like you could fight, but you're too old. So, which is understandable. I mean, he was 60.
Yeah.
But it's like, oh well.
It's like you pass flying colors, but no, you're too old.
Yeah, we're trying to like preserve whatever's left of your brain cells at this point because you don't block.
No, I love that. Rocky doesn't block. I love that. You should put that on a shirt, bro. Rocky doesn't block.
I'm sure somebody probably already has somewhere out there. I mean, Sylvester Stallone would probably like sue me.
Now, in Rocky 5. It was Sylvester Stallone's actual son who played Robert Balboa Jr. And in this one, Milo, this is the first time I noticed Milo. This was before the Hero series. Remember Hero series?
Yeah.
Right before it. And so I could see why they cast him because Milo has that sort of droopy thing too going on.
Yeah, they kind of have like the same mouth.
Yeah. I was like, wow. I thought it was acting. But turns out it was just Milo.
Yeah, method acting.
You got that drooping thing going on too, the lips. It's fantastic. I love it. You can't get a better.
Or they pulled Justice League and they like digitally made his lips that way, like they did with Superman, with his upper lip, with the mustache.
With his upper lip and mustache, with his porn mustache. And the training montage in this one is fantastic. Oh, by the way, Mason Dixon, the bad guy, Mason Dixon. Does it bug you, Tyler? Because it bugs me the fact that he's not built, like he doesn't work out.
Yeah. Well,
What's
that
up
was
with
like
that?
I guess that's part of what was like the conflict because it's like Rocky Balboa. I mean, he's got like nothing to lose, but he's training his ass off, and he's the cocky, arrogant champ that doesn't, that's lazy. He doesn't want to train and all that. He's like, I don't need to train to beat this 60-year-old man. I don't need to train to beat this dude. He's old. He's washed up.
So that's why he's not in shape. That's a good theory. I like that.
That's what I think, anyways.
Now, do you think that because to me it's more fun? A Rocky movie, the boxing matches are more fun to watch when it's a title match. Something like exhibition boxing, like the one with Creed had with Ivan Drago or Ivan with Rocky, and then in this one, Mason Dixon with Rocky. It just seems, I don't know, there's nothing on the line. I feel like, what I'm saying?
Well, I think with some of them, they kind of had to be exhibitions, like with non-sanctioned matches. Like even Apollo's match with Ivan Drago, I don't think was sanctioned either.
Exactly,
because it was like, okay, well, if they're sanctioned, you're gonna have to do a drug test, and you lose. You lose Ivan Drago. You clearly test positive for steroids. Like you can't fight ever. Like you're not allowed. Like you literally like have so much steroids in you.
And also from Rocky 5 to Rocky 6, all of a sudden Rocky Balboa is now a restaurateur. He's
got the restaurant called Adrian.
which is a nice touch, but I didn't know that he's a pretty savvy businessman. That's another thing that they add to his story.
Yeah, maybe someone like taught him how to do that or something. He has like a silent partner or something. Because apparently he's not good with trusting people with investments. So, or maybe that's why he only has that restaurant because that's his investment. That's his thing.
I think you can agree with me that the moments that when he talks to Adrian's at Adrian's gravesite, those are the moments that tug at your heartstrings, right?
Yeah,
like, I feel like almost crying. At least for me, I was like, I'm tearing up.
They are really depressing. Even in Creed, they're depressing.
Yeah, for real.
Especially because Paulie's there too, but because it's like, they're both dead now.
and it's I guess this is a quick thought on my part. Is that I find it so romantic and so sweet that all throughout these movies, Rocky, Adrian is his North Star. Adrian is his compass. It's like he's the only one woman in his life.
He doesn't have like a side chick.
Exactly. although
basically.
although Rocky Balboa, remember they're trying to introduce a potential love interest in that one
Yeah,
woman.
that
Yeah,
the chick that like she knew like that knew that was supposed to be the chick the girl from like the earlier movies.
exactly.
Even though it was played by like a different actress and everything.
Yeah, but I'm glad that Sylvester Stallone, who wrote this, he didn't push that too far. Like sex scene or whatever. Just like it's just something.
Yeah, nothing like 60-year-old Sylvester Stallone in a sex scene.
uh,
Would it be well? But would it be would it be a montage though? would it, if they did do one, would it be like a montage with the music behind it, like they do with all the other montages in these movies?
with Gonna Fly Now music. Ta-da.
That'd be perfect. I'm sure there's probably some like Rocky porno out there that probably does something like similar to that.
Now, before we move on to our final movie, I want to also point out, I don't know how Stallone does it. He's one of the richest guys in Hollywood, but whenever he's in his Rocky Balboa mode, dude, he's back to being a working class folk. He still like uses landline to make calls. He's like this regular guy next door. Talking to people in the grocery store. He's just like Joe Schmo. He always he always manages to does that. Like he managed to do that really really well. That he's not this big Hollywood star. He's like Rocky is this guy.
Yeah, I think that's part of why Rocky resonates so well with so many people because he's not like, Arnold Schwarzenegger. He's not like built like a brick house.
Exactly.
I mean, he's really muscular in some roles and like Rocky and Rambo, but he's not like Arnold Schwarzenegger levels of massive, which is like kind of unrealistic. He kind of is almost like the everyman. Like that's why the everyman underdog in pretty much all the Rocky movies, even the fifth one, I guess.
Yes, and sorry, just one last thing. It seems like whenever he's in his Rocky mode, except for Rocky 2, 3, or 4, it's like this is the Stallone before fame and fortune get to his head. This is Stallone, in his humble beginning. That's the way Rocky is. Just another guy that you can have a drink with in a bar, and I love that. I love that about Rocky. All right, so let's go to the final film, the first Creed movie, directed by who eventually becomes the director of Black Panther. What do you think of Creed?
Well, I mean, honestly, I was not like super excited when it was like announced because like in the age we live in when everything's getting remade or rebooted or there's like a spinoff, it's like great, it's gonna be a spinoff about Apollo Creed's like other son. So it's like because it's like it's not like it was one of the because he had kids in the movies.
Yeah,
they're just not them.
Yeah, this is the mistress, right?
Yeah. He had the side piece. Not Rocky didn't. He had the side piece.
And another thing also, and I think you can agree with me on this. When it was announced, I was like, really? I mean, boxing is not popular anymore. It's all MMA and Muay Thai now. I don't know how they're gonna try to sell boxing these days. Do you agree?
Yeah, well, that's another thing. That's like boxing's not really as lucrative as it used to be. Like, I mean, when you think of like famous boxers that like people like care about still, you could probably count like all of them on like one hand.
Yeah, and it's all welterweight. It's not like that's why in Creed they have this fake class called light heavyweight because Michael B. Jordan is not that heavy. So it's just like they're really stretching it, just trying to sell it to you.
Yeah, but I actually did end up. I mean, my skepticism was, cleared away once I saw trailers for this. I was like, this actually looks pretty good. Also, this was before like everybody was like obsessed with Ryan Coogler being like the guy. He was like, I mean, he only up to this point he'd only done Fruitvale Station.
That's true.
And then he puts Michael B. Jordan in all of his movies. But
oh yeah, Michael B. Jordan to Ryan Coogler is like Leonardo DiCaprio to Martin Scorsese, definitely.
Pretty much. But yeah, it was a really great film overall. It's definitely one of the better films in the entire franchise. Actually, if we include all of them together, like with Creed and the Rocky movies, it's definitely up there on the top couple ones with me, like in my opinion.
And I think they were trying to recreate the Rocky Adrian romance with through Creed and Bianca, even though
Yeah,
Bianca is more I guess self confident, whereas Adrian was kind of like
yeah, she
very
was kind
very
of
nerdy.
shy and reserved, and
Exactly.
she. Well, I mean, she worked in a pet store, so I mean, like she wasn't like the most social butterfly or anything.
Yeah, whereas Bianca is like really, she can stand up to Adonis if need be. But I think it works. The chemistry works between the actors too, and it burns on the screen. The other thing that they also did in this movie was that Rocky was dying of cancer. What are your thoughts about that?
I thought it was depressing because it's like, we were gonna get around killing him before. Now we're gonna kill him. It's gonna be like Mickey, where Mickey just dies a couple like entries in. We're gonna do that game again, where he's gonna be like the mentor to Creed, and then he's gonna die, and then he's gonna have to get revenge or something like that. Yeah, setting up like future Creed movies where Creed has to some menacing force like has to fight Creed, but Stallone wants to fight him first, even though he's like 100 by this point, and he dies in the ring, and then he's got to avenge Rocky because he killed him in the ring.
Are you as upset as I am with the fact that they did not end up killing off Rocky in this one? Because I was a little upset because I wanted. Not that I want Rocky to die, but it'd be a nice ending. Like, okay, it'd be sad. It'll be heartbreaking.
Passing of the torch, kind of, so to speak.
Yeah, right. I was like, oh,
like what they're doing, like what they're doing with Star Wars.
Yeah, just end Han Solo. Kill
Yeah,
him off.
remember all of these characters you used to love from the original trilogy? Yeah, well, they're all dying now, so enjoy these new people.
I just feel like why did you bring up the cancer if you're not gonna follow through with it? It's like, I don't know. I feel like that's something that could have been more, but a missed opportunity.
Yeah, it helped
Yeah.
with his storyline though, because he actually had one of this is definitely, I think, one of the better portrayals of Rocky in the entire series. I mean, he won awards for it and got nominated for others. It was like
That's right.
It was bizarre because nobody expected him to win anything for it, and he actually did.
Yeah, he got nominated for the first Rocky for Best Lead, and then he got nominated for Best Supporting in Creed. Thank you for bringing that up. Now, what are your thoughts? I want to pick your brain because the training montage is very interesting in this one. It ends with Adonis Creed surrounded by motorbikes. I didn't know that was popular. I guess maybe
Who knew?
Is it a Philadelphia thing? I don't get it.
I mean, maybe now. I don't know. Philadelphia's changed a lot since the 70s.
What's with the ATV and the motorbikes? I just don't get it. I don't understand.
Who knows?
They did show the steps, but only at the end when Rocky was like, "Oh, maybe they added a few more steps in this one." He was like so frail.
Got to do something new, I guess. It's like one of those things like you have to have in like a Rocky movie, like the steps and some of the music and all that.
The villain, I think was it Scottish, the boxer?
I forget. I forget the guy's name. I just remember like his storyline was like he was the champ, but he was going to go to jail soon for like years. So we're gonna fight real quick before he goes to prison.
I don't know. I just feel like they could have written a better villain than just that. It just seems so comical.
I think that's probably what they were going to try and rectify with the second Creed, though, because it's like now we're going to pull on the nostalgia of the actual Rocky fans, because obviously it still did very well, and most Rocky fans loved Creed as well. But then it's like, oh, you're going to make it. He's going to fight Drago's son, the one who killed your dad, even though like it feels weird because you don't really have like a connection to your dad because you weren't like you were his son, but like you had no relationship.
Yeah, and then you were the son of the side piece. Remember?
Yeah,
So
yeah, but that's part of like the confusing aspect for me. Like it's cool. It's cool when you think about it. Like okay, it's Drago's son versus Creed's son, but it's like it's Creed, but he wasn't like he was Creed's son, but like they did that. That's not the kid from back then. Like he didn't like it wasn't like the son that watched his father get punched to death by Ivan Drago.
exactly, exactly. I'm sure they're around somewhere. You know that
Yeah,
son.
yeah, maybe somewhere.
Now, before we end, I also want to comment and feel free to share your thoughts. I think Michael B. Jordan is a pretty good guy, pretty good actor in the role of Adonis Creed for what he is. I think he's perfect for the role. I don't have any objection. I as an actor, I've seen him in Black Panther, Fruitvale Station, Fantastic Four. Um,
Yeah, he got to bring that one up.
Fantastic Four. Maybe not a good thing to bring up. But Michael B. Jordan is the kind of guy who's just like he steps up, like he shows up and he does the job. You know, that's that. Whether or not he's as amazing as Stallone when in the first Rocky movie, that can be argued forever. What do you think?
I definitely got to give it up to like the actual like fighting scenes in Creed as well, because I think the
Oh
fighting
yeah,
scenes and the actual fights in Creed are really brutal.
that's
And
true.
just the way that they're shot is really it's done really well. Is just because like how cool it is, and like he just like and then it like follows him to the mat when he gets like the like his lights turned out basically because he boxes that an actual boxer, I forget his name, like Andre Ward, I think, was it the one he sparred in the little training area, and then like he bet his car.
Yes,
Yeah, like I'll
yes.
bet my car because they wouldn't train him for some reason.
No, no, good point. Good point. Thank you for bringing that up. It seems that Creed actually goes above and beyond to make the boxing sequences not just technically accurate, but visceral. You know, the way they
Hmm.
shoot it. It makes you feel like you're getting punched in the face. You know, as you watch it. Don't you agree?
Yeah, I say that's like it has some of my favorite fight scenes in the whole series. I mean, they're not. I guess they're not as like cool or with the montagey stuff you see in like the actual like Rocky movies with the music and all that, but they feel like the most realistic.
Uh, Now, as we're getting close to an end here, I want to ask you, because again, boxing, especially heavyweight boxing, is pretty much dead. Heavyweight boxing is no longer popular. Now everybody's tuning in every time there's UFC. UFC is trending on Twitter. But the last UFC movie or MMA movie was Warrior with Joel Edgerton and Tom Hardy, and
Yeah.
that was not a big hit. So why do you think that people could still watch Creed or Rocky movies, even though boxing is not popular, but they can't really flock to the theaters to watch MMA movies?
I don't know. I mean, I guess it would just be kind of. I mean, I feel like if they did try to do something in the same vein, they would just compare it to Rocky anyway, because it would be
Mm,
like if someone tried to make like a series about like a MMA fighter, say, with the same kind of, it would be literally like they could literally just do the same thing as Rocky but with an MMA fighter, and then they'd be like, okay, you're literally just ripping off Rocky. So it's like I mean, there's a couple MMA movies I can remember, like that one, and was it the Never Back Down?
oh
Was kind of
yeah,
like to say Never
yeah.
Back Down was another one. That one was like okay as well, but it's like they're never gonna reach like the status of like Rocky or anything like that.
All right. Share with me. Do you have, because you always collect Blu-rays? Do you have all of five Rocky movies, all six Rocky movies in collection?
Yeah, I
What do you
actually
have?
got the steelbook of all the Rockies in a collection.
Oh,
I don't have the steelbook for Creed. I have the DVD for Creed. I haven't upgraded it yet, but I made sure I was prepared for all this by watching them all.
damn. See, you're a collector, man. I respect that. I don't collect. As you can see, there's nothing in my background. But
And whatever works. I have too much stuff, so
do you have Warrior movie?
I don't think I do actually. As I
Oh.
might. I don't remember. I mean, I haven't seen it since it came out many years ago.
Okay, so I'm gonna give the final thoughts to you, but I want to give my final thoughts. That after revisiting, it was so much fun revisiting all these Rocky movies, and thank you for sharing this time to talk with me about them, Tyler. I appreciate them because, as I said earlier, I'm a huge fan of the franchise, mostly because the training montages and the speeches. Like
And the
whenever
music.
and the music, of course, Bill Conti, the legend. The thing is, I share this with my friends, is that whenever I feel down or I feel like, or I got a rejection notice, from a job that I'm trying to apply for, sometimes that depresses me, and I would play a Rocky movie, Rocky One or Rocky Balboa, or maybe just play the clip on YouTube, his speech in the courtroom, or his speech about to his son about it's not about how hard you hit, but you get hit, keep moving forward. That always gets me pumped up, man. And when I see the training montages, it makes me want to be a marathoner and go to the gym again. I think for those reasons and many more, I think that's why Rocky to this day is still iconic and still beloved, even though boxing is no longer popular. And I think can't wait to hear your thoughts about Creed 2. What final thoughts, brother?
Yeah. I'm sorry, what did you say? You broke up as you were asking me it.
Sorry. As I said, I can't wait to hear or watch your review of Creed 2. Watch your review of Creed 2. So what are your thoughts of this entire Rocky discussion? Final thoughts.
I mean, it's been a fun blast revisiting all these movies just to lead up to this discussion, because I've seen obviously all of the Rocky films and Creed. So but I haven't really watched like a lot of the Rocky films for a while. Because I don't watch all of, they're not all super rewatchable, because they're not there's some of them that are a lot more fun to watch than others. Because obviously the original is a classic. Second one's still fine, but it's not one I pop in a lot. And of course, for the cheese factor, I watch 3 and 4 a good amount of times because they're ridiculous. And then the fifth one, I just kind of act like doesn't exist. Other than a couple random things I'll watch every now and then, like the Touch Me and I'll Sue, and just how ridiculous the street brawl is. And Rocky Balboa is probably another one of the more motivational ones of the franchise. And then Creed was a surprise hit. So I'm looking forward to Creed 2. I know you've seen it already, because I haven't watched your review because I don't want to obviously go in thinking anything ahead of time. But I'm looking forward to seeing it in the next couple days. I'm not sure when I'm seeing it, but I'm looking forward to seeing it sometime in the next couple days. I'm hoping it's as good as advertised. It's getting a lot of good buzz already, so that's always a good positive thing to hear. That is at least not horrible or as disappointing as some people expect it to be, to say Fantastic Beasts: The Crimes of Grindelwald. How a lot of people were hyped up for that.
I hated that movie,
and then it just stunk. I didn't absolutely hate it like some people did, but there was a lot of flaws with it. Mm-hmm. So I'm hoping that it's going to be more positive. It'll be a more positive review than I had with Fantastic Beasts. The Rocky movies are. There's not really a bad one. Rocky 5 is not a good movie, but it's not a horrible movie. If I had to watch it, I could. So I don't really think there's a really bad movie in the franchise. So it would be really surprising if Creed 2 fell in that category, just for the fact that it's Ivan Drago's son versus Apollo Creed's son. What are the odds in 2018 that both of them would decide to become boxers? And they weighed the same, and all these different factors. What are the odds that they both decided to box, and Ivan Drago's back, so there's going to be that cool conflict with Rocky. Are they going to fight each other in the streets? They're gonna be two old men fighting in the street, because they can't obviously fight in a ring, and who knows what Ivan Drago his fighting would even be like, because he's probably not been on roids in 30 years. So if he even knows, how good of a fighter is he without roids?
That is the mystery of it all. I won't spoil it for you, but I want to thank you so much for chatting with me on this Rocky franchise. And I think you and I can agree, because Rocky 5 came out during the same time as The Godfather Part 3, which also starred Talia Shire. So I guess those are two movies that are best forgotten.
Yeah. If
Now,
we're gonna go off movies, well-known installments in a long-running franchise, that's definitely like the two that you kind of just forget happened.
and so Tyler, you're gonna keep me posted, right, on when the next time you revisit Philadelphia, and you're gonna do the Rocky Steps.
I might as well say, I
Yeah.
mean, because when I went the last time, I did all the other like touristy things you do in Philadelphia, like the Liberty Bell, and go to all the famous cheesesteak places and all that.
Yes,
But
I
like,
love cheesesteaks.
I did see all the Rocky stuff, and obviously I saw people in the distance doing all the stuff. It was like I didn't have time to actually go all the way up there, run up the steps, and film myself and all that.
Do it, do it. Okay, before we go, plug your channel, your Twitter. Where can the people follow you?
Well, my YouTube channel is very simple because it's just my name. It's Tyler Calvert. And Twitter is Tyler underscore Calvert 23. And Instagram is Tyler Calvert 23 with no underscore. I'm very simple when it comes to names. So I'm very easy to find. And there'll probably be links in the description, anyways. If you're not going to go hound it out, there'll be in the description, anyways.
Yes, and Tyler is also a great unboxer, people. Great
Every now and
unboxer.
then, I unbox things from time to time, yeah, because it's not. I try to branch out a bit, and I do. I mean, it's still all movie related content, but like unboxing, like subscription boxes, I get from time to time. So I try to branch out, do movie reviews, talk about, you know, unboxing stuff, do with movie franchises, TV shows, and all that. So I try to keep up with all things pop culture, not just movies.
I love it. I love it. Well, thank you so much, Tyler. And as always, let's rock this.